Get out of your own way, rebelling just for the sake of rebelling. Carl Sandburg says this, and I quote, "The marvelous rebellion of man at all signs reading, keep off." What? Wait a second. The marvelous rebellion of man at all signs reading, keep off. It's better to fight for something than against something, said anonymous quote. It's better to fight for something than against something. Not long ago at a psychiatric conference, I ran into someone I had known in college. I remember Ted as a bright student who had gone on to graduate school to become a therapist like his mother and father. To my surprise, he turned out to not be a therapist at all, but an administrator at a psychiatric hospital, and he was obviously self-conscious about it. Ted dropped out of graduate school where he realized he had entered the field just to please his parents. He became a rebel with a cause, to be master of his own destiny. Unfortunately, he also became a rebel without a clue. He worked in a bookstore, tried unsuccessfully to launch a writing career, then opened a small bakery in a college town. For some years, he was content to live a simple life doing his own thing. But as he aged and started a family, discontentment grew like his waistline. Bored and no longer satisfied to just scrape by, he called on family connections and obtained an administrative job in the mental health field. Ted managed to build a respectable career, but now he felt unfulfilled. "I only get turned on when I'm with therapists talking about real cases," he told me. "I keep up with the literature, and sometimes I have better ideas than the shrinks, but no one takes me seriously." Clearly, Ted had regrets about his earlier decisions. "I might have missed in my calling," he confessed. "I have been a damn good shrink." Ted had rebelled against his parents who had driven him to become a therapist. Internally, he shouted, "Don't tell me what to do." And in the process, he muffled his own voice. Children who are pushed to lead a certain kind of life often get confused. Am I doing this for myself or for my parents? Is this what I really want, or am I just going along with their game plan? With their free will threatened, doing what is right for them becomes less important than asserting their independence. And the outcome of their choices become less important than making sure the choices are their own. Sometimes that independent spirit pays off in a more authentic life, but when what's expected of them happens to be in sync with who they are and what they want, they can end up rebelling against themselves. This form of self-defeating behavior is not limited to children rebelling against parents. I've seen countless husbands and wives who were in constant rebellion against spouses they perceive to be bossy. I've seen business partners, especially siblings and family-owned companies, rebel against each other's demands to the detriment of the bottom line. Invariably, the problem is not that the rebel doesn't want to do what's being asked. It's that he or she doesn't want to have to do it. Being forced or coerced destroys our self-respect and compromises our dignity. It makes us feel like children. The key is to be able to feel that you are choosing your actions, not merely going along to satisfy someone else. When you find yourself rejecting the wishes of others, make sure you are not rejecting your own as well. One clue is whether you have a clear and desirable alternative in mind. If, for example, Ted had a genuine passion for writing or dreamed of owning a bakery, it might not have been a mistake to drop out of graduate school. As for dealing with a demanding spouse or colleague, instead of rebelling reflexively or grudgingly going along, pause and ask if the request is fair and reasonable. If it is, then choose to do it. If it is not, either say no or do it as a favor and let the person know that you expect something in return. When the time is right, explain that you can't choose to do something of your own free will if you are being ordered to do it. As one of my patients told her husband, "I'm an adult, and I don't want to do things out of fear or intimidation." Sometimes it is noble and even courageous to rebel, but the satisfaction will be short-lived if, in the name of standing up for yourself, you sabotage yourself instead. Wow, what? Let me read that again. Sometimes it is noble or even courageous to rebel, but the satisfaction will be short-lived if, in the name of standing up for yourself, you sabotage yourself instead. Here's a usable insight for rebelling just for the sake of rebelling. You won't resent having to do something if you choose to do it. You won't resent having to do something if you choose to do it and taking action. When others put pressure on you, pause and ask yourself if they are being fair and reasonable. Point 2, analyze objectively whether it makes sense for you to do what they're urging you to do. Analyze objectively whether it makes sense for you to do what they're urging you to do. Point 3, ask yourself, if they were to change their opinions or disappear tomorrow, would I follow their original wishes? You might draw a blank at first, but if you keep thinking in those terms, your deepest desires will eventually emerge. And point 4, if your own aspirations turn out to be consistent with their expectations, shift your mindset so that you actively choose that alternative. In this way, you assert that no one else controls you and you keep your self-esteem. Rebelling just for the sake of rebelling, coming from the book, Get Out of Your Own Way, Overcoming Self-Defeating Behavior, Practical Lessons for Conquering Procrastination, Fear, Envy, Neediness, Guilt, and More, from Mark Goulston, MD, and Philip Goldberg.